thank you. Who do we have over here? Is that famous Mark? There's a famous Mark. Good to see you, mate.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah. And Ramy's here.
All right, Ramy.
Yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Wonderful. Yeah. We're really this is right a cluster of friends, right, Daniel? We're in amongst our friends. Yeah.
Tribe.
Tribe.
VR family. Yeah.
Yeah. That's right. Okay.
We got Steph as well.
Steph is coming. Yeah, Steph.
Welcome, Steph.
Good to see ya. Brooklyn.
And Brooklyn.
Yeah, Brooklyn.
Nice.
Oh. There's Brooklyn. I'm going to friend Brooklyn here.
Yep, got it.
I spent a lot of time on the social VR platform Sansar.
Oh, yeah.
I got a reputation as the welcome wagon of Sansar because every time I would meet somebody new, I would befriend them. And my friends list in Sansar was just like unimaginably long. So
wow.
So I'm trying not to do
That's
that
cool.
everywhere I go now.
Get overwhelmed, huh?
Daniel, you can friend me if you want. I don't know if you have already, but
I think we are friends for 12 months.
Pretty sure we are too, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And I can't use
absolutely.
my little eye thing on you right now because it's protected stage. So.
Oh. You can't zap us, huh?
No, you
that's
can't
what happens.
You can't zap. If you're in the audience, you can't zap the speakers. I think that's deliberate.
Oh, okay. Anton.
Good idea.
Good to see you, Anton.
Hey, Anton.
Okay.
You know what's really interesting, Tom? Even just seeing the fire behind me here is making me feel warmer.
You feel it.
Like
you feel it.
The room here I'm in is a little on the chilly side, but it just feels like I'm getting a warmth from the back.
Well, I've got this additional effect of the sun beaming in my window in my back. So I do feel it. Yeah.
You got to watch out for your lenses there, right? With the direct
gosh,
sunlight
it'll
on
burn
the
a hole in
lenses,
them. Yeah. That's another thing. You guys be careful with your headsets, and you don't want the lenses pointing toward the sun, so it'll burn a hole in your LCDs.
Oh yeah, happened at my library. Sad.
Yeah. Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah.
It's pretty expensive too.
Yeah, it was one of the original lifts. It was a sad day. Somebody left it there, and they thought, oh, the blinds will cover it. Nope.
Oh.
Yeah.
They took it apart and you could see the damage, and I was like, hey, we should frame it as a warning and reminder.
Actually, that's not such a bad idea, is it? Are you a librarian? I am too.
So I'm not directly a librarian, but I work within the library at my university as a digital project manager or like immersive technology.
Oh, what university do you work at?
University of Pacific, Central Valley, California. So.
Okay, I'm with the University of Manitoba. I work in the science library there. So
nice. I love libraries. They are great. Like point in the campus is to reach out and work with all the departments. It's one of the joys.
Absolutely.
Cool.
My favorite space at our college is the library as well. I used to sneak in at lunch break and just sit and breathe and meditate. And before I knew it, they had me teaching meditation classes. Like, took my break away.
That sounds like librarians I would know. You show an ounce of talent, they will throw opportunities at you. Yep.
Yeah.
That's what happened to me. I hung out in the makerspace and showed interest, and then I got a job for working with VR stuff. So
Oh, someone is here from Killarney. Oh my God, another Manitoban. How often does that happen in VR?
Not very. Hi, Ryan.
Crap.
And our VR ladies, our VR girl is here.
1.3 million people in the whole province,
library
right?
too.
So.
Yay!
Oh, libraries are well represented today.
Educators in VR.
Hi.
Caitlin is here.
Yeah.
Nice setting for it as well.
I had to enter 3 times to get in, but
Oh
yeah,
no.
No.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it was being weird on me too.
Yeah, it's
Caitlin,
such
did you
a
have
problem.
to kiss a frog as well?
Cruise 3 circles and do a dance, and then they repeated the dance.
Oh, Caitlin, hi! It's nice to meet you. Finally in person. Well, kind of in person.
Wow.
Hi.
Oh my gosh. Hi. Great to see you.
Well,
That's correct.
you guys, it's 5 minutes after the top of the hour, so I think that we're going to want to get started. This conversation is going to be interesting, so we want to get it going. So I'd just like to say welcome to all of you to the Virtual World Society Fireside Chat for this month. I'm Donna McTee here in Alt Space, and the Fireside Chat here is an EdVR acronyms. I'm all about acronyms. So Educators in VR production in partnership with Virtual World Society. I just want to let you know a couple of things. We're going to mute you in a couple seconds or minutes or whatever. And I just want you to, when you see the message that you were muted, please don't take it personally. We're just literally, we have a superpower button that mutes everyone in the room. So it wasn't that you were doing anything wrong or that you were being noisy or anything. We just mute everyone with one button. And as the room fills up, etc., there's room up on the balcony. Just feel free to expand. If you're claustrophobic like me, there's spaces to expand too. It is an absolute pleasure to introduce you. Most of you in the room, I expect, already know Tom Furness, but if you don't, it's a pleasure for me to introduce you. He's the co-founder of Virtual World Society and definitely the grandfather of VR. And the stories you're going to hear in the next hour about are incredible with his wonderful guest that he has today. And I just want to say, so in partnership with Educators in VR, both the founders are actually in the room today. So Daniel's on stage with Tom, and Laurel is up on the balcony. So yeah, it's great to give them some acknowledgement for that.
Hey, Laurel.
And then Tom, I'm going to pass it over to you. So we look forward to your discussion. Thank you for inviting us, Tom.
Oh, you bet. Well, thank you for doing this for us. And for Mark over here, who has actually created this room. Mark is over here on the side. Mark created this space for us, and we really enjoyed it over all these. I think this is number 17, is it? The number 17.
Really? That already? Great.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, welcome everyone. Wonderful to have you here. It's always a delight. It's sort of like family. Well, as Daniel says, the tribe. Our tribe is gathered, and it's always great to spend this time with you. And we have really a super special, wonderful guy with us today, Daniel Dabrowski Bryant. Daniel is, as Donna mentioned, co-founder of the Educators in VR, and we're going to hear more about that and that unfolding story here in a few minutes. But Daniel is not only is a handsome guy and he loves to hang out in Hawaii. You see his shirt here. He is an educator. He is actually been associated with the college in Wales. I'm sure you'll tell us about that, Daniel. He also is not only a co-founder of Educators in VR, he is also a member of the board of directors of the Virtual World Society. It is helping us with our educational activities that we'll hear more about as we go on. So he's sort of a man about town and sort of a master of them all. And so it's wonderful to have you with us, Daniel.
Thank you so much for having me, Tom. Thank you so much. It's I'm really moved. I'm really moved.
Well, just so you guys know, Daniel is in France at the moment, and it's about 9 hours. 9 hours from
it's coming up 10 o'clock
from our time, Seattle. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, 9 hours ahead of you guys. Yeah, of Pacific time.
Yeah. So he may get a little droopy here, but he looks pretty bright and shiny at the moment. But
yes,
good. So Daniel.
Yes.
Daniel. So you were born in Wales. But you grew
I was
up
actually. Yeah. Go on.
Go ahead.
Go on.
Yeah, no,
So no, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Well, I was born in Leeds. Leeds is in Yorkshire.
Leeds. I know Leeds. Yeah.
Right, which is in England. My parents are both British, and but we have. So my blood, I figured out my blood is half Welsh, quarter Scottish, and quarter English.
Ah. And your wife is French.
My wife was born in Italy with a Welsh mother and a Polish father, and she grew up in France, so she's very international.
Oh, that's amazing. So, Daniel, but you spent a lot of your life growing up in Europe. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, my parents were both teachers, and in 1973, the UK joined the European Union. And within 6 months, my dad had got a job in Germany as a teacher at a new kind of a model of education. They called it the European School. And he got a job as a English and history and geography teacher at the European School. This was one of, I think, 10 European schools within this project in Europe. And looking back, I was very, very, very fortunate. Both my parents teachers, they got a good salary, a whole new kind of thinking about education. So I had classes with, some of my core classes were in English, but many classes I had in French or in German or in Italian. So we were learning 3, 4, 5 languages from the age of 8, 9, 10. And everyone was doing it. It wasn't a special thing.
What do you list as your languages that you're able to communicate?
Certainly English, German, then French. I can have most conversations. Even to the point where like have an interesting exchange. Italian, I get by, and Spanish, I struggle, but I could survive. Give me 2 or 3 weeks in Italy or Spain, I'd be okay. Yeah.
Okay, now so you moved as you got older and you're married and you have. Tell us about your children.
Yeah, so I'm a stepdad to 2. Our eldest is Gato, 26. They're an artist, and they also train dogs. Then my second stepdaughter is Bramwyn. She lives in London. She's a fashion stylist, very creative as well. And my son Ziggy is 12. He's here in France. And he's a budding gaming designer. Like he whether it's a digital game or a cardboard game.
There he is.
Oh, there he is. Yeah. Oh, my pride and joy. And so you can see we're playing Minecraft there. And I blew his brains by showing him he could get inside Minecraft, and that upped my street cred with him very much. Otherwise, he considers me a digital dinosaur. Yeah. So Ziggy, he just designs games. Just a little story. Last night he was looking for a new book to read, right, going to bed. And in the house where we are, they have a library. So he said, Dad, help me find a book. So we're looking 5 minutes, and I said, hey, Encyclopedia of Games, I found. He just went quiet, grabbed the book. That was all he needed. The Encyclopedia of Games. That was Ziggy all over.
Yeah. So you moved to Wales to take this job at the college. Tell us about that.
The job came afterwards. I was actually, so I was living in Germany, and at the time, believe it or not, Tom, I was a bit of a lost soul, and I had spent enough time in Germany. My mother had moved back to Wales, got remarried there, and I just made a snap decision that I wanted to leave Germany. I was going to go to London first, spend some time with my sister, and I was actually going to sail across the Atlantic Ocean to the East Coast of either the United States or Canada, because I have family in Canada, and I would make my way across Canada to British Columbia. That was my plan.
Oh, wow.
And so I got to London, spent 6 months in London, visited my mother who was going to get married, and met Paula. And instead of sailing to Canada, I decided, you know what, Paula's a nice girl. I like it here in Wales. I'm going to spend some time here. One thing led to another. And then I got the job with the college, and then Ziggy came along, and suddenly we were a family. Yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit. Let's back up a little bit. Tell me about your childhood. What did you like to do? Were you an annoying kid, or?
Was I an annoying kid? I have a nickname that my parents gave me, Grinsky. And I asked them, why do you call me Grinsky? And apparently as a kid, I was just quiet and calm and happy. And I just used to smile at everybody.
Wow. Yeah.
So I don't know if that gets annoying after a while, but yeah.
I think that's opposite.
That's my nickname. No, I think I was a very peaceful kid. Happy. I used to love running around. We grew up next to the forest, so I used to run around the German forest with my friends, BMX bikes. I was an 80s kid, and growing up in Germany in a European school, there was a lot of influence from California at the time. I liked BMX and skateboard, so I was a skater kid. I was that was my thing. I learned languages. I used to love traveling, hitchhiking. I did a lot of hitchhiking around Europe. And
what was your favorite
in Germany
spot?
where I lived? Say again?
What was your favorite spot?
For hitchhiking? Well, it was functional hitchhiking. It was I used to, instead of paying for the train or the bus, if I wanted to go to the UK, I'd just get on the motorway and hitch a ride, and I'd be there maybe a day later, but it would be a different adventure, and you'd meet people. So I was always really interested in people. Actually, thinking back, I made friends. I made German friends, Turkish friends, Russian friends. You know, I had friends everywhere. I think that's one of the things I was known for, is that I get along well with people, and I can. I think I get along with languages help, right? Languages and travel help. Yeah.
Well, so when you made your move to the UK and you started becoming a faculty member at your school, tell us about what you were doing there. What was your job?
Right. So I had started teaching English as a foreign language when I was living in Germany, because the reason why I said I was a lost soul. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life for a long time, Tom. Age 22, I was studying, and I wanted to take my motorbike license. So I needed some pocket money. I needed some income. And I put an ad in the paper, English native speaker conversation classes. I thought I'd give that a try. And within a week, I had 2 or 3 people ring me up and say, I want to learn English. They would come to my flat. I would make them cups of tea, and we would talk my language, and then they would leave and leave me money. I was like, this is okay for me, man. So I financed my motorbike license like that. And but one thing led to another. I got a job in Germany teaching English. So when I moved to the UK, it was natural to kind of pursue that a little bit, and I was lucky. There was a job going. In Wales also, you have to understand that it's actually a bilingual country. It speaks English and Welsh, and everything has to be translated legally by law into both languages. And this was one of the few jobs that I wouldn't need to learn Welsh for. I wanted to learn Welsh, but so I got this job teaching, and at the time I didn't think I would have it more. I'd never had a job more than 3-4 years, but it turned into 17 years. And I in the beginning, it was literally just teaching English. And then after a while, I recognized that a college like that is actually a huge resource. We were talking with, I think Keely was saying before, and also Ryan, that libraries are great places. I got friendly with the library at our college. I was talking about maker spaces and fab labs with them as well. And I had ideas. The frustrating thing about our college, I don't know about other colleges, sometimes it moves a little bit slowly. So some of my ideas that were good ideas, they just didn't get the attention, didn't get off the ground until VR came along. But yeah.
Well, so let's talk about this VR thing. You got bitten of the bug. You got addicted. What happened?
Well and truly. Well, comes back to my son Ziggy here. He had already shown an interest in kind of tech and coding and this and that. And about 3 years ago, almost exactly 3 years ago, I wanted to just find a project that he and I could do together. And I was scrolling Facebook Marketplace for something that might trigger my inspiration. And there was this VR headset. I didn't know a thing about VR, Tom, not a thing, honestly. And so there was this plastic chunk of VR equipment, $20, 20 quid. I was like, yeah, I can't go wrong with that. So I drove around the guy's place, picked it up, and there was no processor in it, and I couldn't figure it out. I said, "You trying to rip me off? What is this? We know, where's the computer? How does this work?" He said, "No, you download an app and you put your app in the thing and it works." I was like, "Really? I don't know about this." I took it home. I did a bit of research, downloaded an app onto the phone, and showed it to Ziggy, and he was like, "Wow, that's really cool." But he kind of drifted off to do his own thing again. I think it felt a little bit forced upon him by his dad at the time. And so I tried this thing myself. And I had, without really choosing anything in particular, I downloaded a tour of the International Space Station. And I put this headset on with my phone in it, and I just went quiet for a good 10, 15 minutes. I couldn't believe what I had seen. From not knowing what VR was, I took the headset off, and two things struck me like thunder. It was one, how did I not know that phones were capable of this already? Like my phone that I was carrying in my pocket could do that to my brain. And two, my brain was somehow convinced that I had just spent 5-10 minutes on the International Space Station. Those two things, it just floored me. It really did. And I was thinking about this. The next thing I knew is like, I'm going to take this to college. I need my students to try this. And those two things combined, that was the spark. That was definitely the spark in my living room. Everything else kind of flowed from there. Yeah. And I think I consider myself like meeting you and meeting Jackie and other people on your board and stuff. I don't know if you know this, but there have been different waves of VR, right? And Tom is the first wave of VR. And then there in the, I think in the 80s, there was a second wave of VR. Then in the 90s, a third wave. And Palmer Luckey and Oculus, that's the fourth wave of VR, if I'm not kind of roughly speaking. So I'm very much, maybe even fifth wave of VR, I don't know. So I'm a new kid on the block, 3 years in, but yeah, totally bitten.
Yeah. Well, about that time, let's show this next slide. You know, we sort of met each other physically. Yeah.
This was a good day.
So I was actually introduced to Daniel by Eva, who was working with the Virtual World Society at the time, and she said, "You got to meet this cool guy. He is so neat. He's so fun. He's so friendly." And I'm thinking, well, everybody's friendly to Eva, you know. And so we did. We met online, and I thought he really is cool, and he's on fire. He's got this something going on inside him about what can be done with VR, and he started mentioning this notion of a borderless classroom, and then he started mentioning to me some other things about wanting to form this organization with some friends of his. Just happened to be Laurel up there on the balcony, and so tell me about that. What was your motive? You flew all the way to San Jose from in the UK. And to participate in this AWE conference.
It was a lovely story. So what happened is, I don't know, anybody here know, what's his name? Steve Bambury. Does anybody here know Steve Bambury?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Ryan knows him, out of the Dubai. And he runs something called CPD in VR, Continuous Professional Development in VR. And at the time, it was cutting edge. There was nothing else really like that. It was amazing on a platform called Engage. And I had seen one or two of his events, and you turned up to one. He invited you to speak about your story. And I sat in the audience watching this, and you started talking about the Virtual World Society and become a member and become an ambassador. 5 minutes after that event, I was a member of the Virtual World Society. I was like, this is me. I'm on. And in my kind of application, I wrote a little bit about, why I was interested, and I wrote about this idea of educators in VR and borderless classroom. It got Ava's attention, and she introduced me to Tom. And at the time, talking to you and getting taken seriously by someone with your history was really remarkable. I remember, you don't know this, Tom, but after I came off that call with you, I literally fell off my chair onto the floor. I was so stunned by having met you and had a conversation. that I fell onto the floor in my office. And Ziggy came running up because he heard a big thump in the living room. And I was just lying on the floor smiling. That's my story anyway. And then
so you're saying this is intoxicating? Yes, this
absolutely intoxicating. Yeah. But you have to think this was only a year. This was only a year after I first put the headset on, and suddenly I'm talking to you, and we're talking about things that are possible here. It was a big moment for me, and then I knew AWE was coming up. A friend of mine had said, "Hey, why don't you come?" And I said, "Well, I could probably find myself over, maybe even the hotel, but how do I get tickets?" And this friend of mine, Joe Millward, great guy, just says, "Don't worry about tickets, Daniel. I got you covered." So he says, my friend says he's going to get me tickets, and that was it. I just bought a ticket. I was even going to couch surf at the time. Flew over, met you, and that's the picture there outside the convention center. And it was, at the time, it was completely like a dream to meet you out there and meet a whole bunch of other good people. Yeah, it's amazing.
Wow. And so you notice he's wearing this Educators in VR shirt. Okay, so we already had, that was already something that was not just a figment of your imagination. That was something that you had actually gotten on with. Now, tell us about that. Now, how did you meet up with Laurel? And
Donna? And Donna, this was probably, it was October 2019. I was still very new to VR, and I was joining a bunch of Facebook groups, and there was education with VR and this and that, and great groups, really friendly, open, people really sharing. But I just joined my first AltSpace event, and I was wondering, well, it's great to have groups on Facebook, but why don't we have an Educators in VR meetup in AltSpace? Why don't we do something like that? So one night going to sleep, I posted on, I think, 2 or 3 different Facebook groups saying, would anybody be interested in an Educators in VR meetup? Woke up the next day and it was like, yes, do it. Yes, absolutely. I met this Australian woman, Erica Southgate. She and I and some German people put on the first event. Erica introduced me to Laurel, and the rest is history. Laurel and I hit it off instantly. We went from one event a month to one event a week, and now I think we're running 4, 5, 6 events a week with people here in the audience running different teams and initiatives. It's amazing. I think we hit on something at the right time with the right people, and I think there's a couple of models that we got right, and we just managed to go far beyond what Laurel and I could do individually. What we've achieved, a lot of what we've achieved, is through the goodwill and support and effort and hard work of the people who recognized what we were trying to do, if you like. Yeah.
Well, one of the things, of course, that happened, as we probably are all aware of, is you decided to do this sort of summit meeting, right?
Right.
And I remember when you first talking to me, "Oh, Tom, would you come and keynote a talk at this summit?"
Yeah.
It's going to be in February of 2020, and it was going. They thought, well, maybe I think these were the words you told me. Well, maybe we'll have about 20 speakers. Maybe 15, 20 speakers, something like that, and it'll be maybe a couple of days or a 1 day or 2 days, and it'll be informal, and it will be in AltSpace and things like that. I said, sure, that sounds good. And he says, we out an invitation and things like that. Tell us what happened as a result of that.
Well, just before we get into all of that, I just want to give a little bit of backstory. So the idea for a big conference actually came from my friend Chris Long. Chris Long has since passed away, but he and I, around about the time I met Laurel as well, he and I were really close. And he was the guy who introduced me to Borderless Classroom. He was my partner in crime. He was really pushing me to go beyond what I considered possible. So he said, you should do something big for your anniversary. And I suggested this to Laurel, and bless her, she said, yes, we should. And she took it bigger than I ever dared. And we were going to do it in October.
She does
we delayed
that,
it a little
she?
bit. She does. Yeah, she's bold. I love Laurel. She's definitely bold. So we delayed till February, and we were inviting. We had an open call for submissions, for calls for proposals, and we were scheduling and this and that, and we were getting so much interest. Laurel says, "What the hell? You know, this is virtual. We can do as much as we want." So in the end, we had 170 speakers. With panels, we did it on different platforms. We went 6 days, 24/7, which was just, looking back, it was a bit ludicrous. But man, what a hell of a ride it was, right?
24 hours a day.
24 hours a day. I bought February is the season for storms in Wales, and there were storms coming in the week before. I went out and bought a generator just to make sure I had energy to keep running, and I actually had to use it once or twice as well. So it was a remarkable event, and you may be coming to this, but obviously the timing of that event was quite remarkable as well.
Yes. Well, as you know, that was when we basically got the lockdown.
Right.
The pandemic was in full force, and all of a sudden now, here we have the summit going and the pandemic going on at the same time,
right.
both of which was going to change our lives forever. I think. So the way I like to think about what the educators in VR did was, it was like Woodstock. When I was sort of a hippie guy, during the Woodstock time, Country Joe and the Fish and all this kind of thing. And so, it was all about the Vietnam War. Although I was in the Air Force at the time, I didn't want to necessarily be on that side. Of the meeting, and I think being realized every continent was represented in that summit, including Antarctica. The hand that was raised from Antarctica. I mean, I never would have met these people before. Never, ever. Right. Several people in this room I met that event. So now you have the educators in VR is a force. Certainly an amazing force in this VR space that is propelling us to help us understand how connection really can work to cause a movement and things like that. Yeah. So I think there are a couple of slides here that I don't know.
This is a nice slide, actually. Yeah, this is during the summit. We had the idea of #SummitSelfie, and we invited people to send in images of either themselves in world or wherever they were from the real world, and it really took off. We had probably 3 or 4 times as many submissions, but it's a nice image of just all the different individuals. It shows like the human spirit behind it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's why I like that picture a lot.
Yeah, and here you got me sucked into it.
Well, there's a nice story around that, Tom. I don't know if you remember, right? But you came in, I think we had you booked for Tuesday, and it was your keynote, Playing with Fire, and everybody was super, super psyched about it. And you came and you went about, 35, 40 minutes in? Something happened. Your headset went down. Something happened. We had an issue, and we couldn't get you back. And I mean, we were amazed to have you there at all. That was the first thing. But we were like, and I think actually, well, we said, well, we'll keep you posted and everything. And you were determined, no, I'm coming back and I'm going to finish this off. So then we had you back for the Friday. And I think this is the shot from the Friday. And by now we had so much goodwill. People wanted you to come back, and it had to happen. And there was some kind of energy around that. And even during that event, you jumped out once or twice. But we used that. Laurel and I used that to kind of engage the crowd, and we did the Spanish wave, like the wave and stuff like that. And the energy in that one particular event, waiting for you to come back and waiting for your manifesto, it was remarkable. One of my top 3 moments in VR, absolutely.
Well, now Now there's been quite a journey, of course, since that time, and since that time we've had this partnership to grow between educators in VR and the Virtual World Society, and now
Right.
you are on the board of directors of the Virtual World Society. What was your motivation for basically joining up the Virtual World Society?
Okay, well, first of all, when Tom invites you to join the board, you don't say no. That's a given. I'm new to being on the board, but it was trust. It was trust in you, and it was understanding from conversations about this, what you're trying to do, the scale of what the Virtual World Society is trying to do, what it represents. And educators in VR, we're quite defined within education, but I think within that, Laurel and I, we are with the community that is kind of gathered. We're very, very conscious that we're working with people's goodwill, and we take that very seriously. And we recognize that with the Virtual World Society as well, right? I mean, this technology is arguably one of the most powerful pieces of technology we've ever had access to, and it's it's a very dynamic, fast-moving industry, and there are big players and big industries. And I appreciate Oculus on Facebook a lot for what they've done, but at the same time, it's too important a technology just to hand over and leave to big industries and big corporates. We need guardians, we need communities, we need strong communities to ensure that it stays open, it stays democratic, we have standards, that it's safe, that this is something for everybody, and that when they come, there is content that speaks to the goodness in us, reflects what's good about us. I mean, we have Donna here with Live Loved. She runs however many 100 events every year, and an amazing community of working there. The Virtual World Society is now Fireside Chats. We need so much more content. Virtual reality has got a head start on gaming and on entertainment. That's good, as it should be. Next is enterprise, because they've got the money. That's fine. We need to be hot on their heels with just common sense, goodness, and kind of lead the charge. That's how I feel about it. So for me to be able to support what the Virtual World Society is doing, and of course back for educators in VR to be associated with you and have access to your experience and your network, that's not something you pass up. It's we're hugely honored to be your partners.
Well, same here. I mean, it really, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, isn't it? When we put these pieces together, when we form these partnerships, these alliances for good, and it's not that one organization will do it all. It's that we take the parts that we can put together, and it becomes something wonderful.
Exactly.
And this idea of being a bellwether, being sort of the spotlight, the lighthouse for the industry, because left to itself, the default, of course, is what does it take to make money, and the default from that is to build games of violence. You make that supposedly entertain, but what really entertains is what you talked about, Ziggy. It's creation. That's what kids want to do. That's really ultimately what humans want to do. It's the imagination, and how do we spark imagination? And all these years, during the early days of VR, we're always looking for this so-called killer application. Not killer again, term of violent games, but something that would be the pull. We were pushing technology. Sort of, if you build it, they will come kind of thing. That we were building this technology. We knew it had great power. I mean, even from the early days when I was working on fighter cockpits on this stuff. But we were looking for this huge pull, and it was there all the time, which had to do with education and with training, moving minds. And so now we find ourselves as we are in educators in VR and the Virtual World Society and other organizations that want to work with us, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, the Black Technology Mentorship Program, Girls STEAM Institute, all of these different organizations. we're turning our attention now to learning, and especially learning that takes place in the home. So we've given
Yes.
this a lot of thought, haven't we, Daniel?
We have. Yeah.
And so, do you want to say something about your perspective on this?
I love that. I think I'll borrow something that you often say, and that is that the average living room is likely for a long time to have more equipment and tech than the average classroom. And never more so, I think, than during a pandemic. That's highlighted how resilient homes can be and how they've adapted to working from home, learning from home, self-isolating and all of that. Along comes virtual reality that can be very creative. Research abounds on the engagement levels and the memory impact. But for me, you're talking about killer apps, and creativity certainly is one of them. For me, even more, it's collaboration. It's collaboration, right? VR, single user VR is incredibly powerful, impactful. But you make any app multi-user, and it's more than some of its parts. And there's no better example than Tiltbrush. Tiltbrush was recently made open source, and within less than a day, somebody had released a version that was multi-user. Tom and I had a great experience in there last week. And a little story. My son, I told you how my son, I tried to not force VR on him. I tried to share it, and he was busy doing Minecraft and other things. But recently I gave him, for Christmas, I gave him my Quest 1. And he asked for me to bring it to France now. And suddenly he wants to do VR. And anybody played Gorilla Tag? It's a new game out. It's hilarious. My son and I were playing Gorilla Tag. And so I've been testing various collaborative platforms. When I go back to Wales and he stays in France, we will have 5 or 6 different things we can do. Multi-brush, Gorilla Tag, Rec Room, Altspace. So I'm not concerned about missing my son in the same way anymore, because he and I will be collaborating and creating in VR. So that's one example of families using VR across time and space. The other thing I will say is, in our research, there's a lot of funding out there. A lot of funding, especially for education. Education is one of those boxes that you can tick all over the place. But we found that families that are really carrying a lot of weight now in adapting to this pandemic, that there's surprisingly little structured support yet available. And that's tragic. We need to change that. And that's really what you're setting out to do, right? We have the technology. We have a community of people. There's money. We're trying to put the dots together to turn homes into really powerful, creative, exciting places. Yeah. Learning labs.
Wow, that I just get chills up and down my spine when you're talking about this. I'm so excited about this. And one of the other things, by the way, and Mike, I've been working on this stuff for 54 years, this VR stuff. And every time I put on a headset, something happens to me. I mean, even from the first day when we were doing things for fighter cockpits, I was flying in the fighters, testing this stuff and seeing what you could do with it. I mean, it was transformative in terms of building a high bandwidth connection between a human and a very complex machine. But know, I put on I'm wearing a Quest right now. And so I put on this Quest and I become a kid again. You know, I'm
just
77
like
years old now, but I become a kid. Just like that. And it's fun. That's the thing. Learning needs to be fun, and that propels us more than anything else, And the collaboration part of it, where we're able to go play with others, go learn with others, go solve problems with others, do projects, things like that. One of the things that maybe this is a good time to invite Caitlin. Now, one of the things about the Virtual World Society has over 1,000 members. It's free. You can join for free to be a part of this movement. Also, Educators in VR have over 1,000 members, and we're sort of joined at the hip with this. And but we are now beginning in the process of unfolding a new venture, a moonshot, so to speak, of the Virtual World Society that has to do with learning in the home. And and we really want to draw upon all of the wonderful people that are in our members in the society. And I know all of you aren't members yet, but please join as soon as you can. As soon as this is over, go to the Virtual World Society website and join.
Indeed.
But, we have a number of core members. We have a number of activities unfolding right now. And Caitlin, would you sort of come up front here a little bit and tell us about what's going on? Where's Caitlin? Where'd she go?
She's behind there with the
there she's there.
red beret.
Okay.
I'm right here. I have to see. I think I put myself on speakerphone. I also put myself on air if necessary. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Hi,
Can you hear
Caitlin.
me?
Yes.
Hi.
Caitlin
yes,
is
we have
the staff of the Virtual World Society, and you want to talk about that?
So we have so much going on. I guess I just wanted to start out by saying, again, it's so great to see Ryan here. I had posted a quote for International Women's Day that was about how much I love libraries. And I started out as a curator in a rare books room in a library. I've been in different library roles, and I just feel like this resonates that we're kind of creating a meta library as we go forward. So just so happy to be in this space sharing with so many people. And yeah, I will say that one of my first interactions with Virtual World Society was actually nominating Chris Long for one of the legacy prizes. Because,
really?
Yeah, so he had such a huge impact too on my life and my journeys in VR that I just feel like bringing his presence into this room and just knowing that we stand on the shoulders of giants that have come before, kind of like this legacy of library. Yeah, our collaboration really is that killer app. And in Virtual World Society, we've gone through a whole process. It's part of just my delight to really bring members' voices together and try to steward what the future looks like in terms of collaboration experiences, what we're building. 2020 was a theory of change process for the organization, and then now we're looking at some of the future steps and direction. So we thought in March, kind of shake it up a little bit, we would have a focus group, just a group that would be very proactive in terms of storytelling, getting together for an hour and sharing some of where the Virtual World Society is at in fundraising efforts and different objectives, and then just curating some of the members' experiences with VR itself, some of the experiences with the organization, and helping to shape some of the future projects that we're about to develop. So I think just so you know, here in AltSpace, if you're interested, the first way to take part in that March event is to join as a member and then reach out. Maybe reach out personally to me with an email saying you want to dig deeper in this focus group that really is going to be about human conversation, and then I can get back to you. And then later in April, we'll have a bigger community type meetup event. Somewhere where it's really, really open. This is going to be a smaller focus group just to really dig deep into ideas and do some sharing about where we're at in the process. Yeah, so that's what I'll share. And today is a huge day because the XR Global Collaboration Resource Guide just went public. So this is something that was just announced on LinkedIn. And I'm happy to have authored 2 chapters about storytelling and presence. So that's totally free to download. And again, it's a global resource guide to XR collaboration. It's been a work in progress for months.
Great.
So feel free to check that out also on LinkedIn if you want to follow my profile. It's posted there. Gosh, what else? Am I missing anything? I think Ryan had his hand up, so he might have a question about this.
Can we listen to Ryan?
We may need to get Ryan's mic on any minute now. I see. I could probably try it.
Let me see if I can do that from my host tools.
So, Donna, can you?
Uh-oh.
Oh, here we go.
Here we go.
Heard you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay, sorry. I had a bit of a glitch there, and I thought I was going to crash out of the room. I just wanted to say, for those of you that don't know, my name is Ryan Schultz, and I write, for the last 3.5 years, I write a blog about social VR, virtual worlds, and the metaverse. It's at ryanschultz.com. And I wanted to say, Caitlin, the reason I raised my hand is that what's the best way to get a hold of you?
You know, magic question, right? Pretty much everywhere. On Twitter, I'm MindwiseCK.
Okay.
My handle is my name on LinkedIn, so that's really easy. You can look
Okay,
up
so
Caitlin
LinkedIn.
Krause.
Okay, that's good
Yeah,
to know.
LinkedIn
Thank you.
probably fastest, and then you have all kinds of ways to hear about events, and then you'll see the World Society about our focus group coming up. But
okay, that's good.
definitely.
Thank you. I before I go back into the audience and shut up, I just wanted to say, I have more invitations than I know what to do with, and I have just been part. Over the last 2 weeks, I have been part of some amazing conversations related to VR, AR, XR in the hot new drop-in audio chat app called Clubhouse. I've got more invitations that I know what to do with. So I invite you cordially to join me. Right now it's only for iOS or Apple devices, not Android, not yet. But I tell you, it is blowing my mind, the connections that I am making in Clubhouse. So if you haven't joined yet, and if you want to experience it, please contact me. You can contact me. I guess the best way is through my blog. I have a contact me page on ryanschultz.com. And I look forward to chatting with you. And I'm going to shut up now and go back to the audience.
Awesome.
Thanks, Ryan.
Well, I think the interesting part here is here we are in a living room, and Virtual World Society is a community that has a spirit of collaboration and an idea of creating a home space. Where do you feel like home? And I find it personally interesting that all these new apps seem to add in an element of where we can come home to in this digital space of maybe feeling disconnected. So Clubhouse, we have Spark kind of coming out. So they're different. Just know that our coming events are going to tune into that idea of where feels like home to you and how do you collaborate most effectively in your home and beyond to the metaverse. So yeah, definitely reach out to me. You can find me, Caitlin Krause, LinkedIn, and also on the VWS page. Feel free to send me an email if you want to be involved in the focus group. Thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay, so Daniel, before we open up for questions from the audience, what do you see? What in your heart of hearts do you see as the future? What would you like to be doing 5 years from now?
Personally, or for the industry?
Well, let's start with you personally.
In 5 years from now. Ooh, that's 5 years from 2021. 5 years feels like 100 years away. You know what I mean? The amount of innovation we've seen in the last 2 years, 3 years, to think 5 years ahead. I don't know what headsets we'll be wearing anymore, or if it'll be contact lenses. Let me see. What would I like to be doing? I suppose I'd like to be still able to try new technologies, really understand what's becoming possible. I hugely enjoy trying technologies with other innovators and just discovering new things rather than watching other people do it, which is nice. You can't do it all, but that's something I hugely enjoy. And I think if I can be a part of a project with the Virtual World Society or with educators in VR that really manages to create a format that can grow at scale, that can have impact at scale, whether that's in classrooms or in homes with families. If we can encapsulate something that we can share, and even if it's other people that carry it and scale it, if we've been there to form something that that can touch a lot of people, I would be very happy to have been a part of that.
Wow. Okay. Well, maybe that's a question we can ask the audience when we open up for questions, or at least where you would like to be in 5 years, and how maybe VR and other technologies may help with that. That'd be a good question to ask. Well, any parting remarks you have before we turn over to questions?
Parting remarks. Just maybe one thing from my own journey with VR. I've been overwhelmed by how welcome people have made me. People at every point have encouraged me. When I've been new, they've welcomed me. They've shown me around. They've explained, and so. This for me is family. This is honestly a family for me, and I do nothing by myself. It's only with people like Donna, like Laurel, like Tom, like Mark, like Matt. It's with people that we do stuff. So, be open to other people and ask for help when you need it, and together we get stuff done. Alone, it's lonely. That's single user. Let's play multi-user. That would be my
amen.
Multi-user for the win, I would say.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you for that, Daniel. Right. Let's give him his first round of applause here for being
thank you.
Doing what he's been doing with all of us. Yeah, and you're wonderful. Yeah. I hope this is being on our live stream and our recording. We'll see all of this. Okay, so now's the time for us to have this interaction, and perhaps we can start with this whole question to you, where you would like to be in the next 5 years.
Good question.
And how
tough
would
question.
It is a tough question because things are happening so fast, as you say. Okay, Donna, you want to take over here?
Absolutely. So you guys, most of you know the drill. There's a raise hand button down to your bottom right. So if you could click that, we'll take people in order. And when I amplify your voice, you can unmute and we can all hear your question. Please try, there's gonna be lots of people that wanna talk. And so try and keep your questions to just one question, or a short answer if you want to talk about the 5 years. Okay, so please raise your hands, and we look forward to talking with you.
People are still thinking about this one, I think.
Yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, Scott, we're going to start with you. Oh, the hand went down. Is anybody trying to raise hand and the hand is disappearing? It sort of feels like that to me. Okay, Laurel, go for it.
Hopefully it's working.
Laurel.
Daniel, I know you're doing some amazing work in Engage with pushing the boundaries with green screen and things like. Could you talk about that, and also River, the iRiver, the work that you're doing? Because that's beautiful.
Right. Okay. So that sometimes feels a little bit like 5 years in the future. I have a good friend at Engage, Chris Madsen. He and I sometimes try different things out. Recently, we figured out. Quick show of emojis. Who was here for Alex Kipman's keynote for MS Ignite? I think it was last week only. It was quite a cool event. Did a Microsoft keynote speech here, and there was a volumetric capture of him, of his real person, and so we were inspired to try and do something similar. We managed to get a green screen recording of myself. So in my garage, I built a green screen, and then we had that on a Zoom call. And in Engage, you have something called a chroma key screen, which means Chris Madsen brings hit the Zoom call of me into Engage, but it looks like just me in Engage, so it's the same effect, and it's a quite accessible way of having. Might be trying this with other people soon as well. It's quite an accessible and exciting way of bringing real people into VR. So it's like crossing another type of reality. That was cool. And the other one, Lorel, is River, is a British company. They specialize in photorealistic effects in VR. This stands for reality inside virtual reality. They use drone footage and camera footage to recreate photorealistic effects, and how they're using that on the Engage platform for fire training, for cultural heritage. It's remarkable. When you see good photogrammetry in VR in an interactive way, it's breathtaking, and no better place applied than in education or training. So that's also something we should look into, Tom. It's very accessible now. If you don't already know it, have a look at that. Good question, Laurel. Thank you.
Okay, next up. Okay, Scott, your voice should be amplified. Do you want to try it?
All right. Yep, at the back there. You can see your hand up. Scott, are you with us?
Okay, I'm going to toggle it. Okay, try unmuting yourself again.
Okay, I think there we go.
There we go. Yes.
Sorry, I raised my hand, then I realized I didn't have my microphone clipped on, so I had to run across the room. So virtual problems. I've always seen myself as kind of a content consumer. I've never been so inspired to create content until I met virtual reality. It's so inspirational and immersive, and I loved your talk. I was curious what you see as the future of accessibility for VR in, like underdeveloped countries with, challenged economies, and the types of education that can be extended from like first world countries into third world countries.
Tom, shall I take that? Do you want to?
Sure, no, you take that.
Okay, well, actually, that's one of the topics that Tom and I kind of jammed on when we first met. The digital divide is already a big problem, and it's not going to go away by itself. I think we might see it get worse before it gets better. At the same time, there are companies like Starlink and in the UK OneWeb who are, as we speak, assembling low Earth orbit arrays of satellite capable of delivering 5G data to any pinpointed place on the globe. Starlink has already started. I got an email. I signed up. I got an email that I could now in Wales get Starlink if I wanted. Not that I needed, but so one of the things with initiatives like Educators in VR, Borderless Classroom, and certainly the Virtual Society, I would love to think that we could work with partners like Starlink, where we deliver content, support, guidance, and benevolent content, whilst industry partners like that are able to help us reach out to those communities that need it the most. Technologically, there's no reason now why we can't send data to the Himalayas, to the Kalahari Desert, to the Indonesian jungle. There's no reason why we can't. We need equipment on the ground, and then the rest we can do remotely, right? If we can get equipment on the ground and we can get 5G data there by a satellite link, now they can meet us here and we can do training. They have access then to minds and hearts like yourselves. They can speak to Tom. They can meet Tom. They can meet, professors from any given. We did an event in Engage with Stanford University summer medical school. We had Stanford professors in Engage. I felt like I'd been to Stanford, and once you can connect them, and technologically we can, and we should, by the way, you make a huge leap. And so the thing I would like to be a part of is bringing those industry partners together in such a way that we can really get some momentum behind reaching out to those communities who already need it. That would be.
Let me add a little bit to that. Certainly one of the questions that keeps coming up is the issue of access. So many of the people that we would like to be able to work with and support and help are ones that can't afford the equipment.
Right.
or they don't have access to the bandwidth. And this is going to be especially true in people beyond the continental U.S. and Europe and the developed world. And I believe that this is a big problem. I mean, this is one laptop per child kind of thing. But we can work away at it. And I believe that the way you work away at it is where you get enough people who, in a particular community, who want to do this, that then they become a force to get it to happen with their local governments involved, with whatever. I mean, we see this. We've seen this happen in the Cherokee Nation, for example, here in the U.S. and in other places where their interest. It's growing from the bottom up rather than from the top down. So, in the Virtual World Society, we plan to certainly, and working with other organizations like the National Center for Family Learning, to actually work with people who are basically in a poverty situation. And the idea is to provide what they can, to level a playing field so they can actually get the skill sets that they want and need in order to become economically stable. Same is true with the Black Technology Mentorship Program. Same thing there. So we realize that this is a big deal. Is this not just, hey, here we have this digital divide. We have people who can access this technology without any problem, but there's the other side too. That all it has to do is with playing field. That they're starting from a place which is much more difficult to work from than perhaps people that are economically stable. So that is, and that is a showstopper too. If we can't do that, then we will lose this building a community around the world that becomes this movement for good. So I don't know if this, Scott, if this got this answered the questions that you had, but nevertheless, that's our take on it.
Thank you so much. Those were beautiful thoughts and very eye-opening.
Thank you.
Okay, Tom, why don't we take one more question before you guys wrap up? And that would be Steph. Go ahead, Steph.
Hello.
It's nice to have you here.
Thank you. One curiosity on my part, though. Daniel, when you're doing the green screen, how do you manage to hear and see your audience when you're doing that? Doing VR.
It's a very good question, a little tricky to explain. So, first of all, I had my laptop running Engage, so that I was in Engage in 2D without having my headset on, and I was able to see that screen. And the audio connection I had was through the Zoom call. So the people in Engage were hearing my Zoom call audio, and I was hearing them speaking back out. It was a little involved, but it worked remarkably well. And then my image, or the green screen video in Engage, was manipulated by Chris, who was inside VR. He was moving me around and doing those kind of effects. So there are certain constraints, but the effect was actually quite remarkable. It worked well.
Neat. Thank you.
Yeah, right. Lovely.
Okay, well, what we would like to do now is our time is 1 hour is up, but Daniel and I can hang out a little bit longer. Remember, it's pretty late his time, so he's going to fade pretty fast. But just in one more thanks to Daniel for spending this time with us.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank
you, friends. Thank you, family. Thanks, Donna. Thanks, Laurel.
Yeah. You guys are wonderful, and for all the help from educators in VR and making this possible, and especially Mark for this room that you have built for us.
Thank you.
Here on the screen, you see the URL for the Virtual World Society. You can go there. There are lots of things you can do on that website, but be sure to join. And again, it's free. You'll get our newsletter and also be invited to these sessions where we are going to be doing the focus groups about our home spark activities and things like that.
Lovely.
So, and Donna, thanks to you for this wonderful hosting of the event for us. And so, with
Thanks,
that,
Donna.
what we'll do is we'll stay here for a little while longer. At least I'll stay. I don't know about you, Daniel, but if you want to come
another
up
5-10 minutes for sure.
Okay. Okay. So thanks everyone. Take care. Be good, and live long and prosper.
and look for the next event in Alt Space, the next Fireside Chat